this week I'm going to reflect on a training course that I attended at Bridgewater High School. This training course was an introduction to the autistic spectrum. Bridgewater has a designated provision which has places for 14 pupils, and the training came from the person who runs the unit and takes daily charge of the provision. My initial thoughts on the training were that I thought I had a basic knowledge of autism because I have had previous autism training as part of inset days, and also as my previous work as a teaching assistant. I have worked with 2 autistic boys, supporting them on a one-to-one level in the classroom. And I'm just going to quote from the National Autistic Society, who estimates that 1 in 100 children under 18 in the UK has an autism spectrum disorder, and that you may have 1 or more children with the condition, or perhaps one to start attending your school soon, or you may already teach or support a child that does not seem to fit in somehow, and you wonder whether they may have an ASD. And you want pupil to feel more comfortable in school, settle more successfully with his or her peer group, as well as achieving greater success academically. I'm just also going to quote from the SEN Code of Practice, which states that there are policies and procedures aimed at enabling pupils with special educational needs to reach their full potential, to be fully included in their school and communities, and make a successful transition to adulthood. So the strategies that I adapted after going on this training course. Children with autism need visual support, so I've decided that if I am teaching a child with autism, I'm going to use visual supports in my lessons. For instance, homework could be on a sticker for the pupil to just stick the sticker in their homework diaries rather than having to write it down. In drama, there might be 2 or 3 tasks per lesson, and I've decided to use cards, flashcards, which have either got pictures on which will relate to the task, or very simple instruction on, so that the pupil can feel involved in the drama and not overwhelmed, because drama is a subject that is going to be very difficult for autistic children. They have difficulty organising, so they may find it hard in group work to involve themselves. So I would make sure that I put them in much smaller groups, maybe even a pair, rather than overface them with a large group. There can be a problem with overdependence, and the trainer talked about Velcro TA syndrome, where teaching assistants with the child's best interests at heart is not encouraging the child to be independent. So therefore, I think I've learned from this training session, as a class teacher, almost having to train the teaching assistant as well, to encourage the pupil to be independent, because, as it says in the SEN Code of Practice, that we are trying to create a successful transition to adulthood. When that pupil leaves at 16, they might not have any support in their job or their lives that they go on to. Did it work? I have taught 1 autistic boy in drama, and I use these strategies that I worked out after the training. I encouraged him to write his own homework down, and I broke it down into very simple instruction, and I didn't allow the teaching assistant to write it down for him. So instead of her just copying down off the board into his book, I would allow him a little bit of extra time to write it down and support him in just getting the homework down in a very basic form. I was also led by him. I did challenge him, and I didn't allow him not to sit on the side and not be part of the lesson. But if he felt like he wanted a little bit of time out, then I would allow him. I also allowed him to work with his friends, somebody that he felt very comfortable with, and often in just a pair rather than a group. So I felt I've really learnt from this autism training. I feel it's given me a greater insight into how to support children with different needs and that have greater difficulties than other children in the class, but to be part of the group as a whole and to try to enjoy the lesson and pitch it at their level. So I'm challenging them as well as making them feel comfortable in the class.